Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this April 23rd, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting to order at 7 p.m. As is customary, please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, that brings us to our first round of public comment. Please come up to the microphone and turn it on. State your name and where you live. Anybody can do so that wishes to. Not everybody at once. Okay, moving on. Reports of boards and commissions and committees. Seeing we have no committee reports tonight, I will report my report, which is basically about the upcoming event for the EAC. We're having a speaker at Chandler Hall on May 8th at 7 p.m. from Audubon Society to speak about the value of native trees and plants. This is open to everyone without a fee, so please come and join us. I think that's all I have for tonight. Mr. Vice Chairman?
Happy spring. That's my report.
Okay. Mr. Mack?
Yes, thank you. I attended the opening and reading of the 2025 road bid. It was quite exciting. I was the only member of the public present, and it lasted about 15 minutes. Other than that, I just want to reiterate, make America's Constitution king, and that's what I saw a lot of when I was at the April 4th, 2025 hands-off protest. Since then, I decided to order a booklet from Amazon for $1.50. Including postage, which contains the Constitution of the United States with the index and a Declaration of Independence. The Constitution was proof word by word against the original Constitution, housed in the archives in Washington, D.C. I hope it is still there because, as the quote from the front by George Washington says, its only keepers are the public, are the people. I think we should all have a copy and read it because it is a basis for the freedoms we enjoy right here at the Board of Supervisors meeting. Obviously, nobody got up to make a public comment, but anybody's open to make a comment, and that's what we're about. We have the freedom to get up to the podium and to submit a right-to-know requests for documents that otherwise would be unavailable to the public. These rights should be cherished, and I thank the board and residents for allowing me to express my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing to report, but John, I have two at home. I could have given you one for free. Saved you $1.50. Absolutely. And I got them for free, too.
They are for free in any office of an elected official. Thank you.
I have nothing to report. Thanks.
Did I waste my money?
No, not at all.
Never.
Never. Goodbye.
Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. If there's anything before we vote on this that anybody would like to talk about on the board for this consent agenda, considering we're spending almost $200,000 for police cars, which, by the way, is under budget, or anything else, please feel free to do so before we vote. meaning the board. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say about the consent agenda? No. All right. Hearing a negative on that, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda for this evening, which is minutes and bills and the police vehicles.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion from the board? I already asked that, but I'll ask it again. Any from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to the engineer's report.
Thank you. The item that we have tonight is the award of the 2025 road program contract. So we have prepared our letter of recommendation. We opened the bids on Monday of this week, and we reviewed the bids received and found no discrepancies in the bids submitted by the apparent low bidder, which was James D. Morrissey, Inc. They performed the road program last year as well for the township. So based on the review of the bid, we recommend the award of the base bid work, and in addition to the alternate bid, which is North Drive, alternate bid number 11, Bucks Meadows Lane, and alternate bid number 30, which is South State Street. With these, with the base bid, alternate bid number 1, alternate bid number 11, and alternate bid number 30, this is the total amount of $842,132.85. This totals 2.5 miles of township roadway. So based on the information that we have here, the recommendation would be to award the road program in the amount of $842,132.85.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to? Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second. Thank you. Any discussions with the board?
You want to go first?
Well, I was just going to ask if Leanna could explain to us and the people at home what an alternate bid is.
Yeah, so the alternate bid is what we do here in the township is we have the base bid, which includes several, 5 or 6 different roadways, and then we have several alternates, so we can look at them like an a la carte menu. We get pricing for different, individual roadways, and then depending on where the bid prices come in, it gives the township flexibility to recommend award of those individual streets. So we had a variety of alternates proposed, but, to keep with the budget that the township has, and the liquid fuels funding, we worked with Public Works Director to come up with those alternate bids.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did we come in under budget?
Yes, we came in under the estimate that we had, so that was good. And, so we were able to, incorporate alternate bids because of that, so.
Great. Any comment from the public or
I
any
have-
other comment from the board? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. Maybe you'll.
I know I asked this question before, but there were modifications made to the bid documents after we approved the bids to be advertised and put on pen bid.
Yep.
At the March 26th meeting, and in particular, there was one road removed from the base bid, South State Street, and put into the alternate. Can you explain to us why that was done?
Yep, so there was the possibility of some PICO work occurring in that area. So rather than, it gave us the township the flexibility to be able, in the event that PICO can't do the work or had to delay their work, that we could award that alternate and not have it affect the base bid and those other streets, so.
So South State Street is one of the streets you approved in the alternate bid, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
I know you know, I'm pretty sure you know you have the answer. Do the alternate bids in future years, do they all kind of float to the top and become part of the base bid?
They eventually do, yeah, so it's obviously a long list. This one had
Yes.
30 lists, so eventually, year after year, they do get moved into the base bid, and then new streets get added, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else from the board? Anybody from the public would like to comment? Seeing none, I will ask the question. All in favor of awarding our road program tonight, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Mr. Solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First item on our agenda this evening is consideration of the recommendation by the Joint Zoning Council, also known as the jointure, for revisions to the Joint Municipal Zoning Ordinance. The jointure sent over to the township, and of course Upper Makefield and Wrightstown are also considering these options. 3 options for amending the JMZO. Instead of amending the whole thing at once, they are recommending to divide it up into smaller amendments. The options were in the board's packets, and the question for the board is, do you wish to pursue any of the options, and if so, which option?
So I think before I ask for a motion, maybe we might want to get into this a little bit and explain it further so everybody understands. And I'm going to allow Mr. Fisher to do that.
I believe I was the last supervisor at the meeting in February, the jointer meeting in February when this was presented and sent out. This proposal is way reduced from several months ago. They presented a proposal for $32,000 to do the whole zoning ordinance. And this is, in this case, it's just 2 articles. Article 2 definitions and Article 11 signs. And then there's variations of that. They could be graphics only or graphics and update the regulations. Given the choices, the first option was graphics only for both of those articles. I don't see a whole lot of purpose for those. That is the least expensive. Option 2 is graphics only for the definitions, and for Article 11 signs, it was graphics and updating the regulations. And then, that was the middle way, and it was had the middle expense as well. Option 3 was graphics and update for both articles. So, in my opinion, I could go with option 3, 2, or 3, because I think the signs there's been discussion of redoing the sign ordinance in-house here for quite a while. That might help us get along to get recommendations from the Bucks County Planning Commission. The cost for option 2 is $2,326, $2,326, and option 3, and this is our share of the cost. Option 3, our share of the cost, is $3,570. So again, I believe that these updates are significant. In fact, that in the definitions, we've added some new definitions recently when we passed ordinances for the wireless communications, 5G, and EV parking stations. And I'm sure there's others, but those technology changes should be incorporated into our zoning. So that's why I would advocate for that. I would prefer option 3. As for the sign ordinance, as I said, some of us have wanted to modify the sign regulations for quite some time, and I believe that the signs especially could use some graphic illustrations so we know what kind of signs we're talking about, because there's all kinds of different signs, and sometimes I get confused about what that sign might look like. So that's kind of where I am. I think one of the questions is whether we should go for a grant or not. the amounts are low enough. They would still be willing to do a 50% grant from, they call it a MAP grant. We could do that. That would reduce our 3570 down to approximately 1,800. So if we wanted to do that, the only caveat they had with doing a grant was they need a grant manager from one of the townships. So it might be worth that person's time, to not do the grant and save that person's time. But in any event, that's my report about that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody from the board have any questions that?
So
We can
are
help.
we making a motion to approve the work on one or two or three of these options? Is that what we need to do?
No, the motion would be to recommend to the jointure the option, if you choose, that you choose to accept, or that you wish to see. We don't know what Upper Makefield and Wrightstown
I see.
are doing.
So, Mr. Fisher, you recommended option 2 and 3, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I would prefer 3, but 2 is, in my mind, is acceptable.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Dennis, since these are such, I think, minor changes, are they necessary? And I know you had mentioned signs and how signs appear, but is this something that really needs to be done in the whole realm of the comprehensive plan? And if so, why?
Well, it's not something that's being requested to be done by, like, the state or the county at this point, but they are offering that service to bring it up to date and to make it more readable.
Okay. Now I guess to the solicitor, if we picked option 3, as Mr. Fisher suggested, and Wrightstown picks 1, and, we have to go through this whole, we know the jointure, we have to go through the whole rigmarole all over again.
2 out of 3.
Until we pick, I guess there's a unanimous decision. But again, looks like we're paying, on all cases, we're paying 47.09% of the cost.
Yeah.
So, if we went with option 3, why wouldn't the other two go with option 3? Because we're carrying the burden as usual for the jointure. So that's my question. When do we reach a unanimous decision between the townships?
I don't know the answer to that question, only because we don't know what the other two are going to do. You guys make your recommendation. At the next jointure meeting, I'm sure it'll be on the agenda, and you'll be able to discuss with the other two municipalities what their recommendations are. They might all be the same. If they're different, you're going to have to come to a consensus at a meeting. If one of the townships says we're absolutely not going to do 3, we'll do 2, but we will absolutely not do 3. If you do 3, we will not vote to approve it. You may be in trouble. 3 may not happen. But
If I may, it only takes a majority of 2 out of 3 to make a decision. I do know that Upper Makefield, I do know what their decision is. Am I allowed to say that? What it
Sure,
is?
sure.
They would like to see option 3,
Upper Make.
Upper Makefield.
Yeah, the reason I say that is because ultimately I would think that these revisions are going to have to be put into effect by ordinance
Yes.
at a public hearing. If there's a municipal, let's say Wrightstown, will only do 1, and the joint zoning council, 2 out of 3 at the joint zoning council say, we're going to do 3, sorry. When the ordinance comes before Wrightstown, they may not enact it. So
I
it
understand.
would behooves the jointure to come to a consensus with all 3 townships.
Right. So if I may just say, I'm remiss to spend money on the jointure. I think most board members know how I feel about that. But I certainly respect Mr. Fisher's opinion on this, and I do see a need to clarify certain aspects of our sign ordinance. I would personally go with option 2, but again, I am going to agree with Mr. Fisher. I think he makes a good case, and, you know, it's not money I would choose to spend, but we have to do one level or another, because again, our sign ordinance, you can't understand it, so I
So
will
again,
agree.
I'm sorry, is it, we choose one of these or 2 of them?
One.
Just one? I would go with option 3.
Okay, I think that's 3 of us. So, do I have a motion to consider recommendation to the jointure for option 3 for revision of the joint municipal zoning ordinance?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we all discussed it on the board. Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I will pose the question. All in favor of modifying the zoning ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item on our report is considering the drafting and advertisement of an ordinance and the drafting of a resolution establishing a real estate tax credit and an earned income tax credit program for qualifying volunteer firefighters. This comes out of a state statute that was enacted several years back as an incentive to have folks volunteer for volunteer fire companies because of the difficulty that those companies are having getting members and getting volunteers. This ordinance, if the board would like it drafted, would consider a real estate tax and earned income tax refund for qualifying volunteers. And the criteria for volunteers to qualify for the refunds are pretty strict. There's several pages of criteria that they have to meet, including how many hours they put in, how many meetings they attend, how much work they do for the volunteer fire company, et cetera. So it's not just, I'm going to become a volunteer, get a tax cut, and run home and never answer a call. You've got to qualify for it first. We have seen it done in other municipalities, but certainly it's up to the board.
And I do think that we might have someone that has broken down some numbers for us, right, Mr. Fisher?
Yes, nice lead-in. I did, number one, I'd support this motion or this proposed notion just because mainly because it's not enacting anything yet. It's authorizing our solicitor to write it up, so I would support it just on that. But I have done some quick calculations by looking at what some other municipalities have done, as well as get some input from those in the know here in Newtown Township. But based on the research I've done, it would cost us, the township, between $5,000 and $10,000 a year to lose this tax money. And I could go into some of the minutiae of it, but it's based on the fact that there's only 10 or maybe less firefighters who would qualify due to those criterions that Mr. Sander spoke about. So it would only be 10 plus or minus 1 or 2 people. And many municipalities have a cap on what the credit could be. Cap is, in many places, $1,000. I don't know if that comes with from the state legislation or not, what the cap is, but considering if in order to get an earned income tax credit of $1,000, someone would have to be making $200,000. because their 1% gets divided by 2 with the school district. So, I wouldn't speculate on how many people make $200,000 a year, but if you take the example of the real estate tax, with an average real estate tax to Newtown residents of somewhere like $500 or $700 a year, that goes to Newtown Township, and the manager could correct me if I'm wrong. A cap of $500 would bring us to those 10 people getting a $500, or maybe have less than $500 credit. So that would come out to about $5,000 or possibly less. Again, there's criteria that have to be met for attendance and participation, and there are also caps. We could use, as far as I understand, we could use the real estate tax and or the EIT.
Yeah, you can do one or both.
Okay. So I'm satisfied that the impact to the township would be minimal, while at the same time being a substantial benefit for an individual. And it may help with getting more volunteers. So,
I am in agreement. Is there any other questions from the board that we can help answer?
Yeah, not basically a little bit of a discussion. I do appreciate Mr. Fisher doing all the calculations, but I was under the assumption that it says tax credit, where I think Mr. Sanders said, used the word forgiveness, tax forgiveness. I don't think we're forgiving tax. I was under the assumption it would be a percentage of whatever they are paying. So if they're paying $500 in real estate tax, they're not forgiven the total amount of $500. It would be a percentage of that. Am I correct, Mr. Fisher?
That's at your discretion, Mr. Calabro.
Okay.
You can choose the percentage.
Okay.
I've seen it range from 20% to 100% of real estate taxes.
Yeah, because you had made the mention that you don't want people joining for the sake of joining and getting 100% relief on either their real estate or their EIT tax. And again, I'm assuming this would have to be monitored by the chief and the administration of the fire department.
Yes.
What qualifies? Do they show up once to a fire?
No.
Do they show up twice? Do they show up? So I mean, the criteria would have to justify the tax break, which again, I'm all for it, but I think as a township, we should have to set parameters. And also, I would think maybe that our finance director would crunch the numbers to give us some sort of accuracy on what those numbers would be. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and again, I could be corrected, that we're not giving them tax forgiveness, we're giving them a tax credit.
Credit, that's correct.
correct.
That's how the ordinance would read, and as to the qualifications, as to the criteria for qualifying for the tax credit, they will be adopted by resolution that I will also be drafting if the board approves it, in tandem with the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
So when that resolution is presented to us, then we will discuss whether we want the EIT, the real estate tax, both, or, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're just authorizing the drafting and the advertisement of the ordinance and drafting a resolution establishing that tax credit to whatever criteria that
You
we are
wish
going
to see.
to agree on.
Correct.
Right. Okay. I think that's pretty well done. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Sander, if you draft it and bring it back and we have changes at that point, you can make those changes as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but that you probably don't want to advertise it because if you make substantive changes to the ordinance, you've got to re-advertise it. So perhaps the board takes a look at a draft ordinance without authorizing the advertisement, and then authorizes the advertisement at a future meeting.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good.
Because it does sound like there's definitely room for discussion, and there's alternatives here.
Yes. I definitely think that we want to do whatever we can for our volunteer firefighters. There's very few of them. We want to keep who we have and try to entice other volunteers to come to the area. And this is just one thing that we can do to try to help with that situation. So, if there's
good-
any other discussion?
Good question. You said come from outside the area. If that was the case, how can we give them tax credits if they're not in our township?
No, they would have
No,
to be.
they have to move into the town.
Okay.
For the real estate tax credit, that you have to
And even-
own
even
property and
residents.
reside
You
in
have
it.
to be residents. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to consider authorizing drafting an advertisement of the ordinance and drafting a resolution that we just discussed?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I think the board has discussed it thoroughly. Is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of this, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final item on our report this evening, consideration to authorize the chair to execute 3 easements and a contract, all toward the ongoing project for the Newtown Creek Trail and Bridge project, with which the board, I'm sure, is familiar. If the board's of a mind, it would be a motion to authorize the chair to execute those documents.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second, and then we have a person, Mike Sellers, here that can answer any questions if necessary. So first, I'm going to ask for a motion to authorize execution of these easements and design that we have thoroughly discussed over the past several years. Do I have such a motion?
Can you clarify, please? It also is, the motion includes hiring Howell
That's the contract.
contractor for design. That's included, right?
That's correct. That's the
Yes.
entering into the contract part of the motion.
I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I think we've discussed it, so nothing from the public. All in favor, please say aye.
I thought we were going to have a discussion.
Oh, I thought we just did that. I'm sorry.
Mr. Sellers,
I'm going quickly. Yes, Mr. Sellers is here to answer any questions from the board, if you have them.
Good evening. Mike Sellers, Newtown Creek Coalition.
push your button.
Better?
That's it.
Mike Sellers, Newtown Creek Coalition. Be happy to answer any questions. I also wanted to just take a moment to note that this is a huge step in the project itself. This grant was only awarded in late November of 2024 by the Commonwealth. It's $1 million. And since that time, working with your manager, solicitor, and engineer, we have managed to do the necessary work to get proposals for selection of a design engineer, the contract for which is in front of you and within budget, and also, very importantly, to secure the easements necessary to do the project. Because while we talk about being able to build a bridge or build a trail, in this particular case, it is not public lands. It's private, which means private landowners have to be willing to not only just support the project in philosophy, but also give documents called easements. And these give the rights for the trail and the bridge to be built and maintained forever. And there are 3 parcel owners in this particular case who have done so and have been wonderful, I'll say, partners in being able to make this project advanced and go forward. The first one is the Cliveden Estates Homeowners Association. The second is Sycamore Street Associates. And the third is DLCP LLC. So were it not for these property owners providing easements, we would not be here tonight. But we are. So the project now goes forward. And again, I thank your professionals and the board.
I think that's pretty amazing that these property owners are willing to do that. I mean, that right there is a real, it's unbelievable. Congratulations that you were able to achieve that, really.
Any questions?
I don't have a question. I had a comment. You mentioned budget. This for the Howell is $104,000. Comes out of that $1 million grant, correct? And I noticed they submitted in their document, I know this is really even before the design process has begun, but I must say that the concept that they put forward lacks what I would call the idyllic, bucolic ambience we have come to expect in Newtown Borough and the township. It looks very, I don't know, non-bucolic, let's say. And I realized the first time you were here, you mentioned about old bridges, disassembled bridges that PennDOT had available for purchase for $1. And you also mentioned that the original piers are still there, and perhaps one of these bridges can be placed upon the pier and make it look more bucolic, let me say. Is there, I mean, this concept, it's not a final concept, is it, that was submitted?
Correct.
So the process would be they would come up with a design document that would have to be approved again by us, or how does that work?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Those stanchions that are already there, they're not usable, are they?
I was about to address that. It's a good question, actually, because in the original concept of this project, which goes back some years, the ideal situation would be to take the foundations, as they now exist, having been built back in 1898, and incorporate that into a design in some fashion, either with a railroad bridge or into a completely new overspan, which could use those foundations. There are 2 problems. The first was the structural nature of the foundations is not good, so they couldn't support anything really. Our intention is to highlight them as historical remnants as part of this project, but not to use them. As far as the railroad bridge goes, it's correct, there is an inventory. We could not find in that inventory a suitable bridge, but it was examined closely and was an idea to at least rule out.
Okay, I'm just saying that, you know, from the concept, I'm not too enthusiastic regarding the concept, but I know we have a long way to go. So thanks for your information.
Well, and I appreciate the enthusiasm and the interest. Hear me? Yeah. I appreciate the interest because this will come back and you will sign off on the final design.
And maybe in a further stage, we can have some nice uplighting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I don't want to take up too much time.
I know, I'm a lighting designer, so that's when
Well,
my brain
and that's
goes.
appreciated because there will be lighting for these remnants. So if you have ever been to any kind of historical site with that, it's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had a quick
Yes.
question. There is a difference between the 10% that's allowable for engineering services and the 114,000, like $15,000 difference there. And it's mentioned in here somewhere that that has to be made up from some funds from some other place.
That's correct.
Do we have ideas of where that would come from?
We do.
Okay, that's good enough. We'll find out more later.
You will. There's a lot more to come with this.
Hold on, I just have one question in regards to cost. I know that there's grants and so on that you've applied for in the past, and I believe when it came down to the cost, it was basically minimal to the township and to the borough with the grants that you would be receiving from the, I believe, the state. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at that time, barring that we do get a pro bono work from engineering and so on, it could actually, we could get away without paying anything in regards to that. Is that an assumption? It's not, I'm not holding you to anything, but.
Correct. And I think the budget for the project is viable, and we're keeping to it. So it's a yes.
Okay.
We'll have it built for the $1 million.
Okay.
Did you submit to us a budget? I looked at some of the documents, but I don't know if I got down to that detail. You keep on mentioning a budget. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
If you look at the application for the LSA grant,
Is that in our folder here that we?
probably not.
No, that was previously approved.
Right.
That's not in the folder.
So that's available if I want to look at that?
Oh, yes, yeah. Just to give some background, the application to the state required great detail, including a budget.
Okay, so for the application for the grant includes all that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I do have a question, just popped into my head looking at the map. Looking at the proposal, I just was comparing it to the map, where the bridge is going to go over Frost Lane and looks like North State Street or Edgeboro Drive.
Edgeboro, yes.
Yeah. I don't see any sidewalks there. Like, is there any plan on the borough side for anything to do anything like that on that side of the?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit above my pay grade, but say that the borough actively has 2 grant avenues they're pursuing.
Okay, thank you.
Not to get into history on this, but the question was, do you put the bridge in first or do you put the sidewalks in first? But, they're coming about pretty much the same time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And what happens on the township side? What is the lead up to the bridge, walking?
Lead up to the bridge will be coming up to Sycamore Street. There will be a crosswalk over to Penn Community and a crosswalk
Yes.
over to Village at Newtown.
Right, okay, understood. I knew that, but
Okay.
just checking you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor of authorizing execution of easements and design for the pedestrian trail and bridge projects, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes our report.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. General fund balance this evening, $7,176,529. Plan expirations before the board with no action required. This evening, we have Chief Forsyth to give his monthly ESD report. Evening, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to report the March activity for Newtown Fire Rescue. We responded to 165 calls for service. We completed 57 fire safety inspections in Newtown Township and 2 UNO inspections and 1 fire alarm inspection, 1 tent inspection, 1 tank inspection, and this is a first for me, a solar panel inspection. So we also installed a fire radio repeater in the storage building at the Penns Trail and Pheasant Run. We've had a couple calls in there. We were unable to communicate with the dispatch center, and the owner went ahead and put a repeater in there so that our radios would work. So that job has been completed. In Newtown Borough, we completed 52 fire safety inspections and 1 UNO. Some of our highlights from March. Chief Weaver and I met with President Dallas. Warren and I meet on a monthly basis to discuss the future of the fire service in Newtown. March 5th, we conducted a staff meeting with all the fire rescue personnel, the career staff. Chief Weaver attended the fire marshal's monthly meeting on March 5th. Just trying to hit the highlights here because you guys all see this. So, Assistant Chief Weaver attended the Borough Council meeting to present the February fire report. And March 19th, Assistant Chief Weaver attended and facilitated the Fire Services Joint Fire Services Committee meeting. And on March 26th, thank you to the board for allowing us time to recognize the firefighters for the fire call in Lower Makefield. Training for the month of March consisted of self-contained breathing apparatus. We have to have a fit test every year for our annual, make sure we still are not putting on too much weight, that our masks fit. And we also concluded that with engine and company and ladder company operations. I would like to say and invite the board, if you would like to attend our second annual burn, is May 3rd at the Lower Bucks County Training Center. We start at 8 a.m. You're more than welcome to come down and see us train, and see the job that the guys go through and the girls go through to be recertified every year to continue to be a volunteer firefighter. That's my monthly report. I'd be more happy to answer any questions that the board or anyone may have for our department.
Any questions for the chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I'm just happy that we're considering your volunteer tax credit for the guys that live here. I think it's well-deserved, and I'm all for it. It's about time. Yay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes.
That's all we have under our report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to our second round of public comment. Again, please come up, state your name and where you live.
Good evening. Charlie Foyer, Newtown Walk. And no one's more pleased to hear all this pedestrian issues and projects being completed than me and a lot of people that approach me all the time on this. And my first question is with regard to the township engineer's update. Something that's lingering in my mind that's a carryover of a project that I believe was supposedly completed quite some time ago. Is there any update available on the punch list from the Newtown Trail project? As I recall, the contractors had not completed the punch list on Lower Darlington and the trail that was done up in that direction. And that brings to mind another question that comes to mind, and that is, in an effort for transparency, is it possible that the public have access to project updates that the township engineer makes? Because based upon my attendance in these meetings for the last couple of years, the only thing that gets on the agenda from the township engineer are requests for paying for projects and reimbursement of funds that are in escrow. So it's sort of a formal request, and I don't know, you can instruct me on how to do it, but there are a lot of people in the township that would like to know where the projects are, and they have no real way of knowing because we don't get an update. So thank you. Look forward to your instruction on how to get that. Also, I laud the township manager and the Board of Supervisors in coming in under budget on a number of projects mentioned tonight. Number one, the police cars, and number two, the paving And the question that's posed to me often is, great job coming in under budget. Where do those funds go that are not spent? Projects have been presented where it's been explained and justified in not pursuing projects that there's no money in the budget for them. So it leads to the question, where do the funds go that are saved from projects? Because they could be spent on things like pedestrian safety issues. In light of all the work that's being done in Newtown, and in light of the fact that we are promoting the Newtown Trail, and now we have the borough putting in $1 million bridge, and the trail being continued, which is a wonderful thing. People ask me these questions, so I'm asked to present them to you. Also, I'd like to say thank you after almost 3 years. The contractors are almost 3/4 of the way in completing the Tara and Newtown Yardley Road crosswalk. They're waiting for, I spoke to the contractors today, and they're waiting for the fixtures, which were on back order, I think Mr. Lewis told me, and they confirmed that they're due supposedly next month. So I wanted to express on behalf of Newtown Walk and all the pedestrians, including those that are still fearful of walking parts of the trail, thank you very much for putting that in. The contractors made a comment to me and said, people aren't even slowing down or stopping, and we're trying to cross the street to get to our trucks. So it's really a great project, and and others are hoping that it's going to make a difference. Thanks very much. Oh, no, that's fine. Thanks.
You know, one thing I like to say about that project at Tara Boulevard, I had a doctor's appointment in the building just before the work being done, and they have a sign in the middle of the road that says work ahead. And I had to make a left, and that sign was blocking my view of oncoming cars. So I didn't want to talk to the contractors myself, but I think that sign should be moved closer to the construction site a little bit so that I could see next time I go to the doctor. I'm an old guy, I have to go to the doctor often. I'll be able to make that left-hand turn and with confidence. I just wanted to make that note.
Thank you.
Valerie Mahalik, Newtown Walk Community. I don't know, Charlie, if you forgot to mention this, but when he was talking with the contractors today, they mentioned that when they put in the rapid blinking flashing light, that there's the mast arm now. And all along, we had advocated for the freestanding poles like they have at the courthouse in Doylestown, and to keep the ornamental poles in so that the look of these rapid blinking flashing lights for pedestrian safety tie in with the Newtown Borough look, as opposed to a more industrial look like you might find on Street Road, which is what we were trying to avoid. So we were very surprised to hear that they're putting in the mast arms. So I don't even know if we can stop that at this point. I actually thought that was more expensive to do than the freestanding ones, again, like we had presented from the, that they have at the courthouse when you cross from the parking garage to the courthouse. So do we know anything about that? Is it too late to change that?
So you're looking for a more bucolic arrangement, I guess. And I thought we had, myself, I don't know if I can remember, I remember this coming up for discussion, and I thought we said that was okay. We should use those kinds of more ornamental looking poles.
Yes, so we came quite often, and there were two different ways to do this. One is with the mast arm, which goes all across the road, or Again, I give the Doylestown Courthouse approach, which also has line of sight. It's on a hill. People are crossing from the parking garage to head into the courthouse or vice versa. And that was what we had advocated for all along, because we wanted to keep the look of the borough. And when they changed, or updated, not changed, the intersection at Lincoln and Washington last year, they also put in the ornamental-looking poles. Now, I know that's in the borough, but we then said, can we please make sure that the ornamental-looking poles are what we use at Tara Boulevard? I'm not sure what they're doing at Silo and Sycamore, but I would think because that they're probably using the freestanding ones there. I just don't know where.
Yeah, I had thought we approved the antique-looking whatever. Maybe the person you talked to was
It was
misinformed.
Charlie.
Yeah, the poles are black that are going in.
But is there a big mast arm that goes across?
I believe that there, I don't have the plan in front of me, I apologize, but I believe there would be, and that anything that would have been required by PennDOT, we would have had to do.
Do you want to speak to that, Charlie?
Yes, certainly, and I didn't want to create any confusion, but they are waiting for the decorative poles. It was simply, the question came up, it would be a decorative mast across the road, and what we had understood was PennDOT had approved the elimination of the mast across the road in favor of just 2 ornamental poles with rapid rectangular flashing signs on them.
Freestanding.
The 2 freestanding poles are going to be there. One will have a mast across the road, and I think that's what's raised some question, but
I guess that needs to be clarified.
I can confirm the plan and clarify that, yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight?
How you doing? Ed Merriman, Newtown Walk. I know you guys had talked about buying the new police cars, which I'm all for. I'm curious, for the next round of police cars, is there any potential to investigate EVs? I know, police cars notoriously have low miles and thousands of hours because they're sitting there running for, an EV solve that problem. So I don't know if manufacturers are actually making specific police cars at this point, but I'm curious if that's something that could be investigated for future purchases.
I think our police department just test drove an electric police car.
Who?
So, our police department.
Okay, awesome. So I would
So
highly
that would
advocate.
be up to them to determine, what they thought about that and if it was practical for us.
Great,
So,
awesome.
yes.
Thank you.
anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Any other business? Anybody? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I will call this meeting in adjournment at 7:58.